Today, I received an email with just one simple question in it.
Hello Dominic, I wanted to ask you if you could show us how you create your 3D artworks. They always look so funky and chaotic in a fun way.
Hell yeah, why not? So this is where it starts, my second brain, the notebook. All my artworks usually start here. Quick sketch, some scribbles and notes, and an idea is born. This time, inspired by the mail I received, I want to create a hard-working mailbox. Once that idea is manifested, I start by making quick concept sketches and iterations on the iPad. This helps me to form a clearer vision of what I might want to have in 3D later on. I research different shapes of mailboxes, color schemes, and think of the general style the artwork shall have. In the end, I decided to go for an American-style mailbox. The shapes are bold, clear, and easy to model. Since it has a lot of surface area, it also gives me the opportunity to add some additional elements like stickers and tags and a funny face on it. Scroll forward in time by 2 hours and we have the final concept art from which I can now start modeling my scene in 3D. You might ask,
But Dominic, why don't you just go straight to 3D and start in there?
Well, there's a simple reason for that. All the problem solving I do now in the ideation phase will help me to reduce the time I spend on fixing stuff in 3D. Since my main skill is drawing, it usually would take me longer to figure out shapes and overall style in 3D. Also, for my workflow, I know that having a sketch beforehand might give me some extra texture I can incorporate into the 3D model later on. So, it's a win-win for me. Now that we have a clear picture in front of us, it is time to translate a 2D to 3D. For most of my 3D work, I try to keep the model simple and only add complex shapes on the areas of focus, like, for example, the face. Having a simple topology not only makes the process faster, but also will make future steps like UV unwrapping, texturing, and adding the line art way less complicated. Which is great if you're as clueless as me when it comes to most of the technicality of 3D. That said, I also like to use a lot of modifiers in Blender to speed up my workflow. Usually, this will go down to using Solidify and Mirror Modifier. That way, I do not have to model the same parts twice and also do not need to think about how to add volume to them. Once I'm satisfied with the overall look of my mailbox, I like to apply most of the modifiers since I know I will have to UV unwrap the model later on, and having it as a clear topology makes texturing way easier for me. Alright, before I can commit to deal with the struggle of UV unwrapping, I first love to play around with adding some line art to my model. There are several ways to approach this. You can either use freestyle render or grease pencil. Personally, I prefer grease pencil, since it shows me the result right away in the viewport compared to freestyle, where I always have to render the scene first.
Ain't nobody got time for that!
So I start with adding a grease pencil object to my scene. That object comes right away with the Lineart Modifier, and in there we can choose what objects, groups, or even the whole scene should be affected by it. If I know my scene only has one object, the scene option is totally fine. With more complex scenes though, I like to go for several grease pencil objects that affect multiple collections or objects individually. This might be a bigger hassle to set up, but will give me more flexibility in choosing where I want to have a line art. Also, if your computer is an absolute potato, going this route will usually make the scene less laggy. So for now the line art looks clean and way too perfect. If you like that, you can skip to the next chapter, since everything that comes now is just me making things worse. First, I love to add the noise modifier, since that gives me the wonky line quality that I also have in my 2D illustrations. Adjust the noise scale to a small value, otherwise your line art will wobble around like it's trying to escape the scene. Keep the randomize option turned on if you want the line art to jump around a little bit during your animation. You can play around with the value in there, which adjusts the speed of how often the randomization will happen. Now you just repeat that process for all the objects in your scene, and in the end you have something like that.
Nice!
Now we enter the phase that 3D artists either love or absolutely despise in their life. The stony path of UV unwrapping. There are a lot of plugins and tools to give you the best UV unwrap possible, but you will never get around to sort through it yourself manually at some point. If you remember, I wanted to keep the topology of the model as simple as possible, and that will now bear fruits. Usually, if you just unwrap the UV of the model, it is a huge mess. Everything is overlapping, shapes don't make sense, and you just want to never look at it again. But with the handy option to apply Smart UV Unwrap, I usually get something I can work with. Sometimes I just sort through it a bit and arrange parts of it a little neater. Once I have sorted through all the UVs of the scene, I export them as a PNG through the UV editor, which I then can later import to Procreate or any other drawing program. That will give me the guidelines to draw the textures and other elements. I know. You're probably thinking,
You could just draw it directly in Blender or Substance Painter, you dummy.
well, yes, but that won't give me the same distinct 2D look I have in my artworks. My way of thinking is that what makes my 2D art look the way it is that I use specific workflow in Procreate, and if I want to make sure that my 3D work looks remotely close to that, I need to stay within these boundaries. Does this make the process less intuitive? Most likely. Will it give me the result I need? Absolutely. Given some time, I could sit down and learn how to use Substance Painter, for example, and find a way to emulate my style I have in Procreate. But that would take a lot of time for me and most likely not give me a 100% match. Either way, what I want to have for my textures is a simple coloring spiced up with my swirly and glitch-like elements. Some textures are fine with that, but others will need some more detail since it will add depth to the scene. So, for example, the background wall is a simple cube, but to make it look more interesting, I added some roller paint color, tags, graffitis and more. That will create some underlying story for the scene, but also give it that extra gritty, juicy look. After this gruesome task, I can finally reap the fruits of my work. Don't get confused by the changed look of the scene. While I made myself a blasting hot coffee, I kinda carried away and played around with the lighting setup of the scene and gave it some placeholder materials already. And of course, I forgot to record this, sorry! Anyway, I choose any objects of the scene, go to the Material tab and add an image texture node to the base color. There I can now throw in the texture for this object. If you haven't changed any of the aspect ratio and orientation of the UV, this should then give you a perfect fitting result right away. Sometimes though, you have to play around a bit in the UV editor to make it fit better. Either rotate it, scale it, or in other cases like with the little birds in the scene, I use the same texture for multiple objects. In that case, I just slide around the UVs in the UV editor slightly or scale them a bit until I get a satisfying result that makes all of them look slightly different. I absolutely love this part of the process since I then can see the artwork come together slowly. And of course, it helps me to see areas that might need some extra love and details. If you can remember the concept sketch of the mailbox, it had a cute little face on it and I thought, well, why don't I animate it? So I drew some really simple frames of the mouth moving around. Once I have that ready and set, it's time to crank up After Effects and throw it in there. Since I know I want to have a letter being thrown into the slit of the mailbox, I adjust the timing of the mouth movement to the exact frame this will happen. It takes a bit of back and forth later on in Blender and After Effects to dial it in, but for now, we can just estimate the timing roughly. Now, with everything set in place, I export the animation as a PNG sequence with the alpha channel preserved. I also make sure to check the option Preserve RGB. That ensures my colors stay the way I intended them to look like and not let After Effects decide on it. Lastly, I import the PNG sequence into Blender. I create the image as plane object, check the option Animated Sequence and make sure that the alpha channel option is turned on. Always make sure to check if the animation length is set to the number of frames the PNG sequence has. Otherwise, the animation won't run at all. Something you might encounter with using PNG objects with transparency is that if they are in front of other objects that use Grease Pencil Lineart Modifier, the line art won't show up behind a transparent object. The only quick workaround I found for that so far is to use the knife tool and cut out the silhouette of the transparent object. Depending on your scene setup, this might though not do the trick and require some more nifty node tree setup for the material, which for the sake of the length of this video I will not go into detail. Everything that comes now is basically just me finalizing all the details of the scene. I add some small stickers, the main animation, and also some secondary animations in the background. I try to find a balance between areas with a high saturation of details and more simple parts. This helps to guide the viewer's eye through the artwork. Lastly, I add another grease pencil stroke object and introduce some floating lines. All the grease pencil objects I used before only affect the volumes and silhouettes of the geometry in the scene, while the stroke object gives me the option to draw on top of them more freely or add floating lines. This is just something that adds another layer of 2D stylus elements to the scene. Once I'm happy with all the shenanigans, I throw it into the render, do some post VFX and sound design and hope it works out fine. And voila, we have an animated mailbox. It ain't the perfect process, but it works wonders. Remember, work smarter, not harder. Make sure to leave a comment down below if you have any questions or just want to say hello. Also, hit that subscribe button, notification bell, and like this video so others can also learn something today. Cheers!